Hi, and welcome to Mrs. Park's geometry class. This is chapter 3, section 3, slopes of lines. Okay, so it's getting cold outside and it's ski season's coming. So if you've been to a ski resort, okay, there's different ratings depending on how difficult it is to ski. So ski resorts assign ratings to their ski trails according to their difficulty. A primary factor in determining this rating is a trail's steepness or slope gradient. A trail with a 6% or 6 over 100 grade falls 6 feet vertically for every 100 feet traveled horizontally. The easiest trails, labeled with green dots, have slopes ranging from 6% to 25%, while more difficult trails, labeled diamond or double diamond, have slopes of 40% or greater. Okay, so you guys remember learning about slopes in last year's algebra class. So remember, a slope is vertical rise over horizontal run. So rise over run, you should remember that from last year. Rise over run. So the slope depends on how much you rise over run and how much of that ratio is. Right, slope of a line. In a coordinate plane, the slope of a line is the ratio of the change along y-axis to the change along the x-axis between any 2 points on a line. So I don't know why this slide came out fuzzy like that, but there's the x1, y1, x2, y2. That's just telling me this point and that point. Okay. From this point to that point, remember it's rise over run. So rise is the y's. So you can subtract the two y's. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay. Keep in mind if you're subtracting the y here from there, then you're going to do the same for the x's. Okay, you can't do y2 minus y1 and then do x1 minus x2. It's going to be consistent. Okay, so y2 minus y1, then x2 minus x1. Okay, and this is rise over run. Alright, so finding the slope of a line, and this should really be a review for you guys from last year in algebra. So the slope you do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So the blue minus blue, and red minus red. So if you do negative 2 minus 3, then you gotta do negative 1 minus 3. If you want to do 3 minus negative 2, then you do 3 minus negative 1 at the bottom. Either way, you'll end up with 5 over 4. If you have a graph, you can also do, remember you can count. When you count how many rides and running from one point to another, okay, from here to there, let's do it right here. You count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5's rise. And then you're going to run 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where you get 5 over 4. Alright, let's look for the slope again. And this time I'm rising, but I'm running to the left. That means it's going to be a negative slope. Anytime you have a line going that way to the top left, it's going to be a negative slope. Okay, you can also use the equation y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So here this point is negative 2 and 1, 2, 3. So negative 2, 3. And this point M here is a positive 1 and 1, 2, 3, negative 3. Okay, so those are your 2 points. So subtract the y's. So 3 minus negative 3, which is 6. And then you have on the bottom here negative 2 minus 1, which is negative 3. 6 over negative 3 is negative 2, and that's what we have here. Here in the textbook, they used the other way around. They did negative 3 minus 3 for the top, and then 1 minus the negative 2 at the bottom, and eventually you still end up with the same slope, negative 2. You could have also counted how many you rose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You rose 6 over, and you ran to the left, so it's going to be a negative. 1, 2, 3. Again, negative 6 over 3 is negative 2. So any one of those three methods, you still find the same slope. Okay, so let's try this one. Now, right now you can see that it's not going to be rising anywhere. So the rise is 0. And you just count how many you ran. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 0, you roll 0, but you ran 7. Okay. So any 0 over a number is equal to 0. So you can have 0 over a number, and that's going to just equal 0. You could have also done your equation here, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So negative 3 minus negative 3 over 3 minus negative 4, and that would be still 0 on the top, so it's 0 for slope. So this is a 0 slope. Whenever you have a line going sideways, that's going to be a 0 slope. So for D, you know it rose, but it didn't run anywhere. So how many did it rise? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have 5 on the top and 0 on the bottom. So when you have an equation like this, a 0 on the bottom, you can have 0 over 7. You can have nothing out of 7, which is nothing. But if you have a number over nothing, there's no such thing. You can't have negative 5 out of nothing. So when you have a 0 on the bottom, that's when you say the slope is undefined. Okay, so this is an undefined slope. All right, so here's your turn, number 1A through 1D. So slope, again, you have, if you want to look back, here's your equation. So m, your slope is going to equal y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And you do this equation for all 4 of these problems and find out what the slopes are. And come back when you're done. Okay, welcome back. Here's a concept summary. So whenever you're having a line going to the top right side, it's a positive slope. Whenever you go to the top left, it's going to be a negative slope. Going sideways is 0 slope. Up and down is undefined slope. Right. Parallel and perpendicular lines. You can use the slopes of two lines to determine whether the lines are parallel or perpendicular. Lines with the same slopes are parallel. So we learned this in algebra again last year. It's another review. If you have two lines with the same slope, it's parallel. Okay. So slopes of parallel lines. Two non-vertical lines have the same slope if and only if they are parallel. All vertical lines are parallel. So example, parallel lines L and M. So this line here and that line there, L and M, have the same slope of 4. Okay, this has a slope of 4 and this has a slope of 4. Therefore, they are parallel. Slopes of perpendicular lines. Perpendicular means when they're 90 degree, they cross each other at a 90-degree angle. Two non-vertical lines are perpendicular if and only if the product of their slope is negative 1. Okay, so if you, you have a line M that's perpendicular, that symbol here means perpendicular to line P. So line M and line P, if they're perpendicular, excuse me, their product of the slope will equal negative 1. So 4 times negative 1 over 4 equals negative 1. So if you guys remember from last year, I used to say change the sign upside down. So 4 is the same thing as 4 over 1. So change the sign to negative and flip that number upside down. You have 1 over 4. Okay, that's how we know if they're perpendicular. Determining line relationships. So determine whether AB and CD are parallel, perpendicular, or neither for when you have point A, B, C, and D with those coordinates. Graph each line to verify the answer. Okay, so this is going to take some time because we need to find the slope of each line. So AB, you have A and B. And we're going to do the slope equation, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So you have negative 5 minus 1 over negative 1 minus 1, and you get 3. The slope of CD is right here. You have 3, 2, and 6, 1. We're using the same equation. So 1 minus 2 over 6 minus 3, and you have negative 1 over 3. So 3 and negative 1 over 3. Okay. What kind of relationship those two lines have? They are perpendicular. Because say change the slide upside down. Okay, it seems like the product is going to be equal to negative 1. So that means AB and CD are perpendicular to each other. Okay, and you can graph these two in lines and see that they are in fact perpendicular, 90 degrees to each other. Right, so here's your turn numbers 2A and 2B. Actually, it's 2A and 2B. Okay, go ahead and do those two. Tell me if they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So you do AB, lines AB, and then you do CD. Okay, so slope of this line, slope of that line. Tell me if they're parallel or perpendicular or neither. And come back when you're done. All right, welcome back. We're going on to example 4. Use slope to graph a line. Graph the line that contains A and is perpendicular to CD with those two coordinates. All right, the slope of CD, okay, is 0 minus negative 3 on top, 2 minus negative 2 on bottom, and you get 3 over 4. So since 3 over 4 times 4 over negative 3 equals negative 1, the slope of the line perpendicular CD is, through AD, through A is negative 4 over 3. Okay? To graph the line, start at A. There's a point A. And you're going to do, move 4 down and then right 2 units. And there's your point B. And then you draw a line. So what happened here was, okay, so we found the slope of CD. And then we found the slope that would be perpendicular to it. And we found another point. From that point, we did 4 down and then right 3 times. Found the other point, and we graphed it. All right, so here is your turn number 3. When you're done with this part, you're done with the homework. So go ahead and graph the line that contains P that is perpendicular to QR. So find the slope of QR, do the perpendicular of it, the reciprocal, opposite sign reciprocal, and then you'll have a slope in this point, and you need to graph that. Okay? And when you're done with this, you're done with tonight's homework. So thanks for watching.